Hello Scouts, it's Mr. Kugler, and today we're gonna bake a pizza in a Dutch oven, but I bet we're gonna do it in a way that you're not typically accustomed to doing. But I'll make that be our little surprise in a minute and be the suspense. Uh, Today I'm gonna make a pepperoni pizza, just straightforward with cheese, tomato sauce. More about the cooking method and less about what the toppings are. You can experiment and do whatever you want with this based upon what toppings your patrol likes, what your fellow scouts like. But today, for today's purposes, I'm going to do pepperoni. And what I'm going to do is, before I give away the secret of what we're doing with the Dutch oven, let me make up this pizza. I have a pound of, just less than a pound of pizza dough here. I have a little bit of flour underneath on my board. I'm going to put a little bit more, and I'm actually going to add a little bit to my hands because I'm going to be handling this dough, and I want to make sure I don't stick to it. I'm going to take, and I'm actually going to cut this about 14 ounces of dough in half, put my other into a ball, and put it off to the side here. And I'm going to be using a 10-inch pizza screen to be able to put my pizza on. And I know that about 8 ounces, 7 ounces of dough is going to be perfect for this. I'm going to try to get this dough nice and thin because making it thin is just going to help it bake that much faster and give me that nice crunchy crust. The spaces in that pizza screen really help give us a crispy crust. Now, one of the tricks here is you don't want to have your fingertips into this. You want to be able to use your knuckles. And we can use our rolling pin here. The thing is that we want to do is we want to be able to have, maybe I'm better off putting it on my hand. You want to have some flour on that rolling pin. Otherwise, the rolling pin is going to stick to that pizza dough, just like it did there. So I had an area that didn't really get floured well. So just going to keep working this. Try to get it, let gravity do its trick. This is pizza dough that I got at the grocery store. And one of the tricks is, about 5 hours ago today, 4 or 5 hours ago, I put this dough in a container to protect it from the air. And I allowed it to proof or relax. And that really made a difference in having this be more pliable right now. So I had a little bit of holes in my dough. It's no big deal. I'm going to take it, I'm going to pinch it together. The only thing I'm worried about there is that when I go to do the toppings, that they'll go through onto my pizza screen and make cleanup a little harder, but it doesn't have to be perfectly round. I guarantee you it'll taste the same. So, got my pizza dough roughly where I want it to be. I'm going to come over here. I'm going to take some cooking spray, canola, spraying it that way because that's the way the wind's going. And I'm going to put this underneath my dough. I use the canola oil because if I don't, this pizza dough is going to have a tendency to burn and stick to my pizza screen to make it a challenge to get off. Also, if I get any cheese or anything on it, it's gonna just make it challenging. So I've got my pizza dough ready to go, and I have some squeezed tomato sauce. I've used this before, and what I love about this is all the seasonings and everything are right in it. The oregano and all the things that really make a pizza sauce. So I'm going to take, and I'm going to put about a tablespoon on here. Doesn't really take much. I'm going to use just a rubber spatula just to smooth that around. Trying to keep it off of my crust. I said trying. And now I'm going to add some mozzarella cheese, grated mozzarella. And again, you use the toppings that you like. Maybe you want to get the mozzarella from the deli counter where it's in slices, and you could put that on, maybe some tomato and some basil, and make a nice margarita pie. That's a great pie to do. Now I'm going to add some rings of pepperoni. Be mindful of the scouts in your patrol. This pepperoni has pork in it, so I wouldn't want to have this on an outing if some of my patrol mates or troop mates couldn't eat pork. I would want to go for a different topping. Or sometimes maybe they have some pepperoni made out of other meats. So I've got this prepared. I'm going to change the camera angle and I'll fill you in on how we're going to bake our pizza today. So Scouts, what could be so secretive that I wouldn't want to give it away in our opening shots there about how I was going to cook the pizza in the Dutch oven? Well, it comes down to the fact that I'm going to use this Dutch oven upside down. So see the legs of the pot are up in the air, and there's my lid upside down, inverted, kind of like how I did those eggs a couple episodes back. And I'm going to put some heat underneath. Underneath my Dutch oven, I have a lid stand that's upside down so that the loop on the bottom of the Dutch oven lid won't get in the way of the metal in the center there. I'm going to put this off here for a second, and I'm going to get some coals and put it out there. I'm going to go around the perimeter. I may do a little bit in the middle. So I've got some charcoal going here. Got my Dutch oven gloves on. Remember, normally when we cook with a Dutch oven, we're worried about if we use, the distribution of heat. If we use the ring method, noting that the top of the Dutch oven is a little wider in diameter than the bottom, that's how we would space out our heat. Now that we have it upside down, we've just turned everything on its head. So we're going to do this a little differently. I've got to be careful that I don't burn that bottom and have a raw top. So what I'm going to start off with is I've got a nice little perimeter. Move that Dutch oven pot out of the way. Trying to get an even amount of heat around here so I don't have too many hot spots. Just like normal Dutch oven cooking, I'm going to take and I'm going to move this Dutch oven around a little bit. Spin it a little bit. So we're going to get our lid on that. Now normally I like to preheat, but for the purposes of doing this, I'm just going to rock and roll right now and just keep working. I've got my lid. It was cool enough to handle. I've got it on top of the heat. I prepared my pepperoni pizza before, and the nice thing about this pizza screen is it also adds a little bit of space underneath there that hopefully will help lead to a nice crispy crust. Now I've got to be careful. I've got a Dutch oven tag hanging here. I've got to move it out of the way a little bit. One of the challenges here is we're going to be putting charcoal on top of our Dutch oven. So we're going to have to be careful because just like that briquette and that one rolled off, we're going to have to be careful that we don't put ash on top of our pizza. And unlike normally when I had this, if I had this upright, I would maybe do a ring around the outside perimeter. In this case, I'm going to put quite a few, a little more than I normally would underneath the Dutch oven. I'm going to put it on top because I really want to get a high temperature. Some commercial ovens in pizza restaurants Could be up to 900 or more degrees. I know I have a pizza oven that cooks great at about 450 because of the spacing between the bottom heat and the top, a homemade one. So we're going to give this a whirl. We'll check it periodically. We'll give this stuff a little spin, and we'll see how our upside down Dutch oven pizza comes out. Every 5 minutes or so, I have to spin the Dutch oven one direction and the lid the other to help even out the space. I added a little extra heat on the top and the bottom to bring up the temperature a little bit after checking it. And also because as my coals begin to die down, I need to replenish some of that heat to even out the baking temperature. So I'm going to take and I'm going to move my lid, or my pot, excuse me, one direction. And I'm going to move my lid the other direction. Move my lid stand a little bit. So I'm going to double check my coals and we'll keep an eye on this. So Scouts, we're about 32 minutes in, and I've been keeping an eye on it, and my top's doing great. I added a little extra heat to the bottom about 2 or 3 minutes ago to try to crisp up that bottom a little bit more. It was still, I like my bottom of my crust a little more cooked. But what I'm going to do is, in preparation for removing this, I'm going to bring my chimney over and I'm going to remove the coals from the top of this Dutch oven. So now let's carefully take this Dutch oven pot off of the inverted lid and see what our pizza looks like. And that is cooked. And you may wonder, well, why did we do it upside down? I think the truest benefit is the fact that you can get the pizza out of the Dutch oven. If this was sitting down in the pot and we had to go down in there to get it, we'd have a challenge. So here, I could feel, I don't want to tip it because there's a lot of grease on the top of that, but I could feel that that bottom is cooked. The edges are cooked, and we just made a delicious pepperoni pizza. Took us about 32 minutes, and it's nicely cooked. And think about all the different things that you could do, perhaps with your Dutch oven upside down. You don't necessarily need this pizza screen. You certainly could have done it right on top of that lid. Maybe that would have helped crisp it up a little bit. Regardless, it's an interesting, different way to do it. You'll have people scratching their head when they see you cooking with your Dutch oven upside down on top of this lid stand. And just a weird and different way to cook your pizza. So get out there, enjoy yourself, have some fun. Think about different ways that you could take and add different toppings and really enjoy getting out there and expanding your cooking methods and the different things you cook.